Welcome to Story Matters. I'm Jeff Krakoff. Today I'm here with Troy Schooley, who's CEO of Pittsburgh Three Rivers Marathon Incorporated, also known as P3R, a nonprofit organization. Troy, I think everybody knows the Pittsburgh Marathon. It's a big deal here in the region. It's one of the bigger, better races in the country. But it's not just one day in May that you hold a marathon. You do a lot more. What all does P3R do throughout the year?
Yeah, so Jeff, thanks for having me. We have 13 different events throughout the year. Some of our larger events take place in the fall with the City of Pittsburgh's Great Race, the EQT 10 miler. We have a great summer event, which is the Fleet Feet Liberty Mile. We also partner with the Penguins and the Steelers for their charity 5K and 6.6K for the Lemieux Foundation. So we do a lot throughout the year really to keep our people moving. And even though the marathon has over 40,000 participants, we see around 80,000 participants throughout the year at the finish line.
That's great. So obviously you had to make a very tough decision several weeks ago to cancel, like every other marathon, and frankly, any event that brings a lot of people together because of social distancing. Tell me about that decision. How hard was it, and how did you come to make that decision?
Yeah, I've talked to a couple of people about this. I think it was the hardest decision I've had to make during my professional career. And the reason why is when we're planning a massive event like the Pittsburgh Marathon, we just don't put it together in a month or 2 months. It's a year-round process. So to know how hard that our team, we have a team of 24 full-time people, along with thousands of volunteers work throughout the year to make that happen. It was really gut-wrenching to me. But to be honest, the most, devastating part about it was the actual runners. Knowing how much time and sacrifice that they put in throughout the year, change their schedules, change their family time just to get that next run in. That's what really hurt us the most, was the runners that continue to run with us throughout the year, and having to, give them that message that they weren't going to be at a start line or a finish line the first weekend of May.
Maybe not. You came up with an interesting option for runners, right?
Right.
You and I talked earlier, you had about 27,000 runners registered, and you're now offering an option for them to run the marathon virtually. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we gave runners two options, really. One was getting a refund, even though it's against our policy, but really the endurance policy is not to give refunds. And the reason behind that is because we order shirts and medals, and we have most of our funds allocated, 6-8 months in advance. So the first option was a refund, which we totally understood if our runners wanted to take that. The second option was to create a virtual event. And what that is, people still continuing their training process, the ability to engage throughout that training process, and really have a goal at the end of the day of completing, whether you're registered for the 5K or the marathon or the half marathon, and be able to earn that shirt and the medal, because people love our shirts, they love our medals, they sport them proudly throughout the year. So we still wanted to give them that option to engage with us virtually. And it's really been successful, Jeff. I mean, we had close to 13,000 people elect to continue to run with us virtually. And we've been using the hashtag #MovePittsburgh. We just got a report today that over 1,000 people have used that hashtag. The impressions are in the thousands. So they continue to become engaged, and that's really what we want. We want them to keep moving, whether it's at an actual start line or a virtual start line.
Got it. So how are you communicating and engaging with those runners that do want to run virtually?
Yeah, so, besides our actual social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, our YouTube channels, we're actually kind of searching the hashtag #MovePittsburgh. So if somebody uses the hashtag #MovePittsburgh, us as a marketing team or a staff, myself, we'll get on and encourage them. We had several people during Easter weekend complete their virtual marathons. So I would get online and kind of search the hashtag #MovePittsburgh, and I would see 3 of our employees that have already told, Jane in the North Hills, congratulations on completing our virtual marathon. So that was great to see. And the staff is so engaged with continuing to move these people. And most of the time we're seeing they're engaging back with us, thanking us for giving them that option to be able to keep moving. During these times, the one thing that we're seeing is there's a lot of more people, around the neighborhood, whether they're walking or jogging or running. And we find that very encouraging, not just for a short term, but obviously the long term.
Right. I couldn't even imagine training for the better part of a year for an event that's not going to happen. So it's such a great option.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard particular stories from people that are running this virtually. Does one story come to mind that sticks with you?
Well, I just saw a story on Sunday night. We had a runner who is, I believe this year he ran for the Mary Lemieux Foundation. He runs for different charities each year, and we see him every year. He's a member of Steel City Roadrunners, but he dressed up in a bunny suit to complete his marathon. And then there was some of his friends, obviously practicing social distancing, but held up a little finish line tape at the end of his marathon. So I thought that was appropriate for Easter weekend. But there's been so many great stories that we've seen throughout. We have the biggest kids event in the country with 8,000 kids, kindergarten through fifth grade.
Yeah.
And we've seen so many parents talk about their children completing their 1 mile marathon virtually. And they've done some unique things for them. But while we can't be there live seeing the kids' excitement, we're seeing it through social media, and it still gives us joy to know that those kids are completing their virtual marathon and continue to move. So we've seen so many great stories. That one sticks out, but really seeing the kids continue to move, especially during these times when, they're stuck inside, and hopefully parents are getting them out as much as possible. So it's been very encouraging.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I know, again, you P3R has programming throughout the year. I think we're all in a holding pattern. We're not sure what the future looks like, but what is the plan for the rest of 2020 right now?
Yeah, so we have 8 summer fall events coming up, and obviously we continue to monitor the situation. I think a holding pattern is probably a good term. But we need to continue to keep these people moving. So if it makes sense for some of our summer events, we have the Gap Relay, which is coming up at the end of June, presented by UPMC Health Plan. If it makes sense to take that event to a virtual option to continue to get these people to move, we'll do that. We'll come up with creative ideas. We have a great staff that continues to innovate in the endurance space. So we're going to take it event by event and really see what happens, see how this plays out. But regardless, we want these people to continue to move with us, whether it's at a live start line or potentially a virtual start line, moving into the fall.
Okay, last question. We're getting close to May when the actual Pittsburgh half marathon, full marathon, some of the other events for kids was going to be held. Yeah. And I know that you start planning for the next year pretty much as soon as the race is over. Are there any changes or big plans for next year for the marathon?
Yeah, you know what, with us taking, kind of changing the race to virtual this year, we've already started talking about how 2021 has to be the biggest Pittsburgh Marathon ever. And, engaging not just the participants, but the neighborhoods, the small businesses. We want to be able to give back, as well as our charities. Our charity program, people continue to raise funds for our charity program this year, which is great, but we want to exceed those numbers next year. So we'll have a full plan moving forward as far as not just having the biggest from a participant standpoint, but from a community standpoint. I know some of our key stakeholders, not just our partners, but our city leaders, our county leaders, and our state leaders are going to help us do that because they want people coming back, not just into the city, but into the neighborhood. So the light at the end of the tunnel is very bright from what I'm hearing as far as people wanting to be engaged and wanting to make the 2021 Dick's Sporting Goods Pittsburgh Marathon the biggest ever.
Well, you and your staff do great work. People don't realize it's not just about running. There's so many things are done for kids and families. There's so much that goes into helping the communities throughout the greater Pittsburgh area. Continue the good work. Stay safe, stay healthy. I look forward to seeing what's ahead for the Pittsburgh Marathon.
Thanks, Jeff. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
If you or someone you know has an interesting story to share, let us know. Email us at storymatters@krakoffcom.com.